Okay, this is a video for anybody that needs a series title explained to them, but they have no idea what Google or Wikipedia are. These are rather unfortunate souls that we're working with here, but don't worry, I'm here to help you out. Let's get started. Alright, this is a series about pirates. What do pirates do? They look for treasure. One Piece is the name of the greatest treasure in the world that every pirate's looking for. Easy peasy. This is a series about magic, and it takes place in a country called the Clover Kingdom. Because of this, every single magic spell book, called a grimoire, that these mages have a 3-leaf clover on them. In some rare instances, there's 4-leaf clovers, which basically mean that person has a lot of magic, and in even more rare cases, you have a 5-leaf clover, which contains the devil. The 5-leaf clover is colored black, and it is the spell book of the main character. There's an organization in this world called the Hunter Association. It's a bunch of people that go out and hunt things. Could be anything, really. Doesn't even have to be physical. The reason why there's 2 hunters in the title, I honestly couldn't tell you, maybe just for alliteration, which we all love, but the reason why the X is there is because the sentence structure and the grammar of this universe is different from ours. They put X's in between words sometimes. I'm not really sure if it's meant to denote a space or just separating sentences or whatever. At any rate, it doesn't matter because you do not pronounce the X. It's just Hunter is the correct way to pronounce the name of the series. It is a chemical, typically a solution of sodium hypochlorite or hydrogen peroxide, and it's used to whiten or sterilize materials. Yeah, no, seriously, originally the series was meant to be called Snipe because all of the main characters were going to use guns. Eventually the mangaka changed it so they were all going to use swords and wear black shihakshos as their main attire. He was going to just call the series Black, but he felt like that was kind of cliche and, let's be honest, really edgy. So he just went ahead and said white, but not just white. He went with bleach because that denotes white, and white is kind of a contrasting color to black, so it's much more symbolic and deep, and let's be honest, still kind of a little edgy, but it's cool. Double meaning. For one thing, it's a magical, whimsical world filled with magic, like a fairy tale. Also, it is the name of the guild that the main cast are part of in this world. It's soap. Quite literally, that's what it means. However, I think it has a double meaning here because the main premise of the story is that all of humanity gets turned to stone. But yeah, the main character literally creates soap in an early chapter and calls it Dr. Stone because it, you know, in a world without doctors, it's the best thing you got to remove germs and keep yourself healthy and hearty in a stone world. But yeah, I think it just basically because it sounded cool. Name of the main character. Name of the main character. Name of the main character. Name of the main character's son. Name of the main group of characters also named after the 7 deadly sins in our world, so each of the members of this group represent one of these sins. This is the title of the main character, Edward Elric. However, Edward has a brother named Alphonse, or Al, that is an animate suit of armor, so most people assume that the Fullmetal Alchemist is in fact Alphonse and not Edward, which leads to much hilarity. So the Japanese title is Shingeki no Kyojin, which can translate to Attack on Titan. However, later on in the story, we find out that the Titan that the main character can transform into is literally called the Shingeki no Kyojin, or the Attack Titan. In this world, there are 7 magical spheres scattered throughout the world. When you gather all 7 spheres together, and I can't believe I have to explain this because every single human being should know the premise of this story by now, but then a magical dragon pops up and will grant you your wish. Also, it's a pun for dragon testicles. Same thing I just said, except now there's a Z on the end of it, and Z is objectively the coolest letter. Try to argue me, you can't, you lose, so therefore, it's way more badass. Okay, be honest. 50% of you have no idea what the GT stands for. I know. It's okay. That's why I'm here. Alright, the GT, I'm not even kidding with this, the GT stands for Generating Tales. It's a double meaning. The first one is because it's generating new tales for Dragon Ball, kind of keeping it on life support, so to speak. And also, there's that, you know, part of GT where they have to, you know, pull out Goku's tails so he can go Super Saiyan 4, generating tails. You get it? Okay. Well, that was all BS. It actually stands for Grand Tour because the name of the spaceship is the Grand Tour, and also the beginning premise of GT was traveling out there in the stars on a grand space adventure. Eventually, things just kind of go back to Earth at some point, but the last arc, the Shadow Dragon arc, does also take place traveling around the universe, so I guess, you know, it ties back in at some point, but no, it stands for Grand Tour. Okay, so you might think it's just tacked on to make it sound cooler, but no, there is a literal reason, okay? Those magic spheres I talked about, the dragon testicles, yeah, there are now super dragon testicles all over the freaking multiple universes that you have to gather to summon a golden dragon that can grant you any wish. So, super. Super! It's the name of the organization that the main group is part of. Also, Van Helsing was the person that slayed Dracula in the Bram Stoker novel, so there's references there. And then later on in the story, when Alucard, the main character, awakens his full power, the main antagonist, the Major, basically quotes this term that all of hell shall sing, because it literally seems like hell is breaking apart when Alucard awakens his true power. A bunch of zombies just fill the streets of London, like millions of them. Okay, this is the single greatest isekai ever, and you need to watch it, alright? Now, the premise is a bunch of historical figures from our world, throughout history, get ripped out of our world and get put in this J.R.R. Tolkien kind of fantasy world, like The Hobbit or the Lord of the Rings series, okay? The people of that fantasy world refer to the historical figures from our world as drifters. This is actually a quote in the series. All Might uses it when talking to Izuku about UA Academy, referring to the school as his hero academia, where he learned how to be a good hero. Now, also you have to keep in mind, Izuku Midoriya is telling the entire story as like narration from the future, as like a framing device. And so he also refers to UA as his hero academia. Hence, My Hero Academia. Literally everything Guts does! The main character defeats every opponent, no matter how strong, with a single serious punch. But sometimes he doesn't feel like that and does a bunch of normal punches, or just kind of goes out grocery shopping. You know, there's a sweet sale for carrots today. It's the name of the main character, but also the goal of the main character, the personality of the main character, the job of the main character, and the philosophy of the main character. Okay, this is the one that's probably the most fun and really symbolic. Okay, so this entire story to me is sort of like a dark, twisted fairy tale, you know, where it's instead of about kids living happily in a Neverland, it's about a bunch of demons that literally rip out children's brains and devour them, right? So there's kind of that element there, a twisted fairy tale, sort of a grim fairy tale, as it were. But the true meaning of the title is actually even a little bit more dark than that. The children want a place where they can live happily ever after, where they are in not of constant fear of demons trying to capture them or devouring them, okay? So that is their Neverland. Does such a place exist? We don't know. We know that there's a place where humans live in this world, but we have no idea if the humans will accept the kids from the demon side. If they'll just welcome them with open arms. Oh yes, children that were raised in a farm in the demon side of the world, come over here, we will treat you kindly. We have no idea if that's the case. It might turn out that there might not be a place for these kids to live safely anywhere. Yet they tell themselves that to keep themselves going. There has to be a world, there has to be a place somewhere where we can live without being in constant fear of these demons. Hence, a Promised Neverland that may actually not exist. Yeah. Pretty damn dark. Also, there's references to Peter Pan, as I'm sure you could probably extrapolate from that. And the thing is, also another way of spinning it is really what the kids want in the Promised Neverland is just a world where we live. Now, the world we live is not a Neverland. It's not fantastical and full of whimsy or magic or wonder. It's just the world. But relative to the situation in which the kids grew up, surrounded by demons, our world, our boring, ordinary world, would be like a Neverland to them. Think about it.